From the finale in Paris, we bring you the skills, thrills and passion from the World Rugby Sevens series for 2018. Let the crazy rugby begin. Hello and welcome to CNN World Rugby. We're here in Paris for the close of the World Rugby Sevens series. Both the men and the women battled it out here for the final trophy of the year. And what a season it has been. The 2018 World Rugby Sevens series started in style in Dubai. In the men's sevens, reigning champion South Africa dominated early on. Victory was theirs in the Emirates, but not in Cape Town. There, New Zealand's agility left Argentina in distress. In Sydney, Australia showed a determination that couldn't be matched.
The drought has been broken on Aussie soil by the men in gold.
Across the water in Hamilton, New Zealand, it was the Olympic champions who took control. Fiji's final against South Africa, the very definition of why sevens is the most exhilarating game in town.
And that should do it for Fiji!
In Las Vegas, Perry Baker, 2017 Player of the Year, continued to punish opponents with his speed and helped Team USA lift the cup.
Oh, this is just unbelievable!
From Vancouver onwards, Fiji refused to lose. The success of the Fijian team has not gone unnoticed by its neighbours in Polynesia. Samoa is chasing their dream. Ahead of Twickenham, the head coach Sir Gordon Tietjens has the weight of the Samoan expectation on his shoulders. After 22 years at the top with New Zealand, it took courage to start afresh and attempt to turn the success of the All Blacks into Samoan blue. But the most accomplished coach in the history of Rugby Sevens believes he's the man to do it.
The strength of the Samoan teams is that their physicality. They've always been very, very strong in contact. A team that, I suppose, blessed with some great rugby players over the years, and you've got so many youngsters coming through the system over there. The physical approach to their game is quite superb because they are very, very strong. The area that I needed to put into place and for them to work on was the pace of the game. On the island, when they play lots of sevens and amongst their tournaments between their clubs and their provinces, and the game is very physical, but it's nowhere near as quick as what you strike on the World Series. So for us to compete in the World Series, we need to certainly get fitter, faster, and of course, when I say fitter, the pace of the game at that higher level is huge, very, very quick. So getting them used to playing at that pace and also being able to execute the skills playing that type of game is very important as well.
Not since 2016 has Samoa lifted a Sevens trophy. But this young team has the heart to do so again.
I understand when I first moved to Samoa there'd be a lot of pressure. Every time you put a team out, you're expected to win, and we had a lot of success. But I've also come to a smaller country that don't have the same resources as what I had in New Zealand, and I've realised that. But what I'm trying to do is to build depth on the island. I'm starting to see massive improvements. I'm starting to see us getting better and better with their skills. The fitness levels are getting there. They've made some massive, significant changes around nutrition. And also we're starting to grow some new players and forced on us in some cases by injuries. And I think we're looking a couple of years down the track, another 18, 24 months, you'll see a different Samoan team, I'm sure.
This 2-year ambition to lay the foundations for greatness and demand a team to dig deep is messy work. The Samoan start at Twickenham was a shock to the system. Down after facing Canada.
The
possession retained here, and great hands on the far out wide side. Justin Douglas in for the second try.
Then Russia.
Gets the pass, is it forward? Picked up off the legs, Davidov. Oh!
Samoa needed to turn things around.
We've got to start, getting hungry again, stay positive, believe in ourselves, and believe in our system and our skills. And again, us leadership boys, especially me as a captain, I need to pick up my game as well. We'll do that in the last game against South Africa.
And then this. In the final game of day one, a glimpse of their capabilities against last year's champions.
Looking to stage a big upset here, the show and the go from Joe Perez. He goes through the blitz box line.
If you believe in what you're doing for the betterment, then you've got to be patient. It's just a fact of life. All coaches have to be pretty hard-nosed, hard-skinned and whatever, because there are a lot of critics out there. And I can sit back, you can get onto social media or read so much on social media, and you can get slammed, but it doesn't affect me. I mean, I've been in it long enough now to understand that if you believe in what you're doing and you trust in what you're doing, then you keep going with it. Because Sevens rugby is just ruthless, and it's a game that can be won by anyone on any given day. Any team can beat any team, and that's the challenges that we face.
That ruthless nature of the game is why the fans come. For the first time ever in Sevens history, 4 men, a Kenyan, Welshman, an American and Russian, all shared the DHL Impact Player of the tournament, equally tied on 46 points. No one team could spoil the party for Fiji, tournament winners for the 4th consecutive time. After the break, can the trophies rain down on Russian rugby?
Russia has sporting ambition. It welcomed the world to Sochi for the 2014 Winter Olympics and again this year for the FIFA World Cup. There's a national will to tap into the spectacle of sport and create homegrown champions. But while tennis star Maria Sharapova and many Winter Olympians, for example, are Russian heroes, few here have noticed the success of the country's Rugby Sevens teams. And right now, it's the women leading the charge to glory. Once dismissed as the sport of cosmopolitans during the Soviet era, a passion for the game began to ignite in the late 1990s. For women's rugby, when the wall came down, opportunities opened.
At the very beginning, when we're setting up our women's team, it was really very difficult because we didn't show any significant results. Today in Russia, there is a system where you can only get financial support as soon as you start winning.
Since his days on the field as an international player, head development coach Pavel Baranovsky has helped lay a foundation for change.
When we started creating our women's team, 70% of our players came from athletics and other sports, for example, handball. My task was really to transform them from individual athletes into team players, into rugby players. And my task was to do that fast and efficiently.
Don't let the cute shoes fool you. These feet belong to Elena Zedrakova, one of the fastest women in sevens.
Zrakova. Oh, it's a hat trick. The superstar, Zrakova.
At school, I was a ballet dancer up until I was 17 years old. And then I became a sprinter. I was noticed by a coach, and for several years, I continued training as a runner. I started playing rugby only 4 years ago when I was invited into the Krasnoyarski team called NSA STM. One of my former colleagues recommended me as a player.
The lightning-quick youngster is part of the squad that has gone on to win the European Championships 3 times under the leadership of coach Andrei Kutsin. Russia has worked hard to earn a top 5 place. Their captain recognised for her determined individual performances.
Самое, наверное, что мне помогает в игре, это мой характер.
What helps me when I'm playing is my character. I know that if I see that our team is about to lose, or we start losing for some reason, we just start playing more aggressively. I know that personally, I will try to use each and every opportunity to win the ball for my team. I'm not afraid of being in contact with the adversaries. I can defend myself and my fellow players. But I think that the most important thing in rugby is being able to tune into the right mode to win and to play and to do your utmost on the pitch.
For rugby to continue to grow globally, it needs teams like Russia to become stronger and upset the dominance of the traditional rugby playing nations. For now, particularly in women's sevens, it's the Southern Hemisphere that has the winning momentum. Olympic champions Australia finally earned equal pay and then set the tone for the season to come.
USA asleep at the wheel, it's a cup final.
Triumph in Dubai was followed in Sydney, where the team became the first in history not to concede a point.
Australia are having a day at home!
In Japan, New Zealand gave everyone a reminder not to count them out, and then stamped that message home in Canada.
It's all too easy for New Zealand.
Both New Zealand and Australia were so far ahead on points that only one of them could be crowned queens of the series. In the final, from the first pass, the Kiwis showed they meant business.
So New Zealand get first use of the ball. Williams, the veteran, posting across field and looking for Blyde to cut inside and using his space and accelerating to get through the gappers. Michaela Blyde, has she got the pace to get there? Polito tracking her down. Blyde is there.
Michaela Blyde proving why she ended up with the DHL Impact Player of the Year award. At the end of the 15, it was a convincing tournament victory for New Zealand.
One more fine effort from Portia Woodman, the leading try scorer this season, finishes with a flourish.
Pretty much every family in New Zealand has a rugby ball. You're brought up around rugby, you're brought up getting up in the middle of the night if the All Blacks are playing overseas and supporting them, because that's just what you do, and we all love to do that. When we first started as our sevens team, is that we wanted that. We want for us to create and build a legacy that young girls want to come into and aspire to play in this black jersey, because it's so special to New Zealand. And for now, for us, I suppose we've created a legacy, but it's about continuing and leaving mana wherever we go.
The Australians had done enough throughout 2018 to become series champions. Charlotte Caslick's work rate earning her the DHL Impact Player of the Tournament in Paris.
Groundbreaking year in terms of the parity that we've achieved with our new CBA. I guess for us it's the start of something in Rugby Australia, and I guess the future of the game is looking very bright. It's important that we look after the integrity of the game and do all the right things so that further down the track that the youngsters coming through the game are looked after. It's been a long series, but we've obviously got, I think it's about 3 or 4 weeks of the World Cup in San Francisco, so really looking forward to that. We'll head home and have a couple of days off with family and friends to say about the World Series title, and then it's back to work, and we've got to resurrect that score out there, because come World Cup, every game counts.
Coming up next, the men bring the series to a close with a few surprises along the way.
Before the finals in Paris, Underneath Rodin's statue of the thinker, all the Rugby Sevens captains gathered for a photo call. Tantalisingly placed within grasp both the series trophies and World Cup to be fought for in San Francisco this July. Each captain deals with that pressure to lead in their own way, and every team has their own support system.
We've always got a speaker in the girls' dance wherever we are. They don't care if we're in the middle of a public area. Our teams, they love music. We're just an excited bunch. We'll be in a changing room just before we're about to run out, and girls are going hard dancing. Not me, but some of the other ones who can dance. So for us, we enjoy each other's company. We'll hang out when we're back at home, whether we've got rugby or not, because we like each other, we call each other sisters, and that's a special bond that I have with the rest of our teammates.
I think we put a lot of emphasis on the mental side. We do work with a guy back home. He often talks about the blue ice technique, and the killer instinct, when you really have the advantage of your opponents and to go and seal the deal. The blue ice is when everything goes wrong, everything just going AWOL, and you struggle to get yourself out of that hole, because often when you find yourself trying to do things right and just 100 miles an hour, then everything just goes to the other side. So we have that blue ice mindset and coming back the middle of the road.
It is Canada!
I think a lot of what we learn in sport is transferable to life. I mean, a lot of it is overcoming struggles and challenges and coming out of those negative moments. And in sport, in training, you face that every day, whether it's, a conditioning session or a really hard session that you're going to have to mentally get up for, but also recover from. And life, there's struggles all over the place. And whether it's in your family or a relationship or at work, you have to be able to kind of put that moment aside and move forward. And you can't sit with those negative emotions for too long, or it's really going to eat you up. So for me, I think the biggest thing that I take away from sport is being able to manage those moments and those emotions.
Everyone has a different personality, everyone has different personality traits. Leadership's the same. Don't shy away from a hard conversation, I think it's the biggest thing. If you try and move around the spot fires, you end up with a bushfire. So it's all about just coming together as a collective and understanding one another.
In Rugby Sevens, the quick pace of the game means time is against you. Even when you're down, a team must stick to the task and not get overawed by the scoreboard. To ensure a player's mindset is as good as their physical conditioning, national team coaches use varying techniques to motivate and maximise potential. Psychologist Robbie Anderson gives us his insights as to what his profession brings to sport.
As a psychologist, I'm obviously interested in the function of people and teams. My role in sport often is just to help people to perform at their best, whether that's to be the best person they are or to look at a certain outcome they're trying to achieve. I'm just there to support them. My name's Robbie Anderson and I'm a psychologist working in professional sport, and I'm currently in the south of France supporting England rugby. So one thing the chimp model does is it helps people to understand that the mind's a bit more manageable. So actually there are systems in the brain which want to protect you. So suddenly if your form isn't going so well, it's reasonable to be scared, it's reasonable to feel insecure, okay? But it's not helpful in sport. So all we do in the chimp model is to help people to recognise that actually you have a choice to go against some of the emotions the brain's offering you and to go with some of the behaviours, thoughts and feelings you want to have. So I suppose when you're looking at how to get a team to bond together, then there's good examples out there already. So we know that some of the Pacific Islands are really big on community. So they'll get together, they'll look at things like whether they're eating together, they have dancing as a big part, religion. Whereas I think that certain other teams will get together on probably more core values. So they, for example, England are big on respect, we're big on teamwork. These are things that we would push amongst teams we work with. But ultimately, it doesn't matter which culture you're in. I think you've got to be willing to work hard. I mean, psychology is a broad area, and I think that obviously we have to bear in mind that a massive and necessary part of psychology is care for people. Mental health is a very understandably popular and necessary focus at the moment in world sport. So I think that the first thing to bear in mind is how do we care for our players. The other end of that is performance. The two things aren't separate, but I think that clearly we would say let's take care of our people first and then let's actually think about our performance. I think you've just got to consider how much time and effort people invest into sport now. So if you're going to invest a couple of hours a day into your physical preparation, so maybe it's a rugby session, maybe it's a weight session, then in nutrition, go and see a physiotherapist for some medical support. You do all this work and it gets you ready for the weekend. And then people often say to me, well, the most important thing is the decisions you make, the attitude you have, and your ability to deal with setbacks. And they're all quite psychological. So if you're going to invest in your physical, why wouldn't you invest in your psychology?
No matter the preparation, there are no fairy tale endings. Every game has to be fought for.
Can Ferguson convert? Oh yes he can!
The tournament DHL Impact Player honour went to Scotland's Robbie Ferguson. Justin Douglas of Canada showed the most consistency across the 10 rounds to win the Impact Player of the Year. In the race for the championship title, only a few points separated the series leaders, Fiji and South Africa.
Oh, that's brilliant! Another one goes on the board for Fiji.
Fiji, who had previously dazzled, showed vulnerabilities.
Silla with a key tackle, keeps it alive! Up off the deck. One score would do it. Norton flips the ball to Burgess. Oh, it's relentless from both. In attack and defence, Glover with a step, Bibby. Incredible defence from Fiji, but here come England. And who else is it but Captain Fantastic, Tom Mitchell.
In the final, South Africa brought their best.
Koeman, Defoe, Koeman. The little hitman, he's there, is he down?
Beating England to take Paris and claim the overall series championship.
I must admit, I think this is pretty much the closest finish and one can get. Like we said in the beginning of the tournament, it's out of our hands whether Fiji is gonna go to the final or not. And then we said, listen, we must just go and play some rugby. We must just go and enjoy ourselves and put smiles on our faces. And play for one another. Everyone is very tired, not only us, all the teams. I think it was a very hard 2 weeks, so I think the body's going to take a well-deserved rest and hopefully we can recover. I'm really happy with the way everything ended, so yeah, just all honour to God for this amazing gift.
Whether dealing with the pain of defeat or the pressure of triumph, each team will leave Paris a little bit wiser. But fear not, this is not the end. Join us on CNN World Rugby next time in San Francisco when the World Cup heads to America